Good morning, everyone. Come on in. And one thing that I would love for everyone to do today is just to rename yourself, add your business, add your title. I think when you come to these free webinars, it's always a great opportunity to network by putting your name out there. So we're just going to give it a couple of minutes here. If you are tuning in live, I love teaching live because you get an opportunity to really get some hands-on live interaction and really pick my brain for how I can support you. So as we're giving it a couple of minutes for folks to join, what I would love for you to do is just to introduce yourself. You can unmute yourself, or you can go ahead and type it into the chat. Tell me where you are from, what your business is, and what are some of the goals that you're working on this year. So in the chat, where are you located, what your business is, and what are some of the goals that you are working on this year. I'm really excited to talk about your best year, your best self, and how do we step into that in 2024. So go ahead and type that into the chat. Now, I'm going to need y'all to participate because if you have not had a chance to work with me, one of the things that you're going to find is that I am very hands-on. I feed off of your energy, just like you feed off of my energy. So go ahead, don't be shy. Type that into the chat and say hi. Introduce yourself. Anyone want to go ahead and unmute yourself to introduce yourself?
Hi, Elizabeth. My name is Susan. I am a publisher of several magazines, and I have my sales team joining us today. I ran across your newsletter that you sent to an AE that's left the company I work for. She's somewhere else, and I just happened to have her email forwarded to me, and I was delighted when I read your email and thought this might be of interest to us. So, hello.
Wonderful. Well,
Mhm.
hello. Love it. Thank you, Susan, for joining
Mhm.
yourself. I have Kimberly Matz, Mountain Magazine, Park City, Utah, working on top prospect goals, goals to grow existing clients, etc. So one of the things that I love to do is you're going to find is that I have a presentation, but really for me, the value is really having a conversation with you and how I can support you. So just a couple of different networking tips if you haven't had a chance to meet me yet or even just be a part of some of the webinars that I do. So one of the things that I always start off with is really an opportunity. Oh, there it goes. My slide just literally ran away. Is to rename yourself and include your business name as well as where you're from. Okay. And at any point, just know that you'll get the recording afterwards as well. But one of the things that I want to just really focus on today, that I want to challenge you as you're listening to me, is to really take a moment here to set aside what you might think you know about goal setting. I think one of the things that we're going to really talk about today is thinking about goal setting from the perspective of goals are what you grow into. So go ahead and write that down. Goals are what you grow into. And when you think about goal setting and being your best self, and some of the things that might be coming up for you, your team around procrastination, around daily habits, things like that, I want you to think about how you show up in your days to conquer your moments. When you think about goal setting and what you got to grow into to be able to achieve the sales results that you want or the results that you want, I often say sales is an effect. It's a lagging indicator. Everything before the results that you want is you, the cause, right? And if you are the cause of the results that you want in your life, what are the bookends that are keeping you every day focused, grounded, and centered. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into this, but as you have questions, I want to encourage you to type that into the chat. Maybe now as you're sitting there, maybe you're feeling stuck or you're contemplating something, an area in your life that you're just like, I've been sitting on this issue and this topic just a little bit too long, right? Type that into the chat so that I can get an opportunity to really tailor this to you. This is one of the perks of being here live. Okay. Now that I have my Google slide back up, let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay. So one of the things that I love to do, as I said, we're going to just go ahead and get this technology going. You don't have to check in, but I always like to say this, check in. Where is your attitude? Where is your energy? Today, we're going to be focused on your best self, the goals and daily routines to avoid procrastination and stay motivated. And it all starts with the mindset that goals are what you grow into and the bookends to keep you focused on what it is that you want to do. And I often say that if you can conquer the moments, you'll conquer the minutes. And if you can conquer the minutes, you'll conquer the hours, hours into days, days into weeks, weeks into years, months, months into years, right? So type that into the chat and just check where you're at with your attitude. Where's your energy at? This is so key, okay? Just a little bit about myself and where I'm coming from with goal setting that might be unique or different is I am a monetization strategist. I help business owners create wild success on sales, on social media by helping teams and individuals increase their self-worth, their confidence, to be able to show up powerfully online using social media to generate the leads and the sales that they want. I often say that selling on social is different than marketing on social. And so a lot of the work that I've been doing with my clients have really been focused on really leading with your heart so that you can really raise your self-worth, your confidence in order to be visible and seen and heard on social. So a lot of what I focus on is social selling systems, getting butts and seats, how to turn engagement, which is a digital marketing, into conversations, booked conversations. And a lot of the focus that I focus on, and this is why I want to just emphasize this for you, is that I focus on high ticket sales. So I'm not always the cheapest gal on the block, but there is something to be said when you think about your best self showing up and you think about your ability to close or sell something that is maybe on the higher end of what you offer, what your competitors are doing. There is definitely a mindset shift that needs to take place first before I can give oftentimes my clients the strategies and the techniques to close and turn engagement into booked conversations using social. Okay. Now, if you don't mind, type into the chat what business you're in, or if you're an entrepreneur, you own your own business. This just really lets me know who's on as well so that I can tailor this for you. Okay. So when we're talking about really the starts and what's really causing procrastination, I want you to think about maybe in the last week or day where you might have had a task or a project that you've been procrastinating on. Type that into the chat. What are some things that you feel that you have been procrastinating on? This is really, really, really key because what I have found to be true, because we're talking about being your best self and we're talking about procrastination. And I want to invite you to really take a moment to just really just sit with me for a moment. I promise we'll get to the doing. People love getting to the doing. Is that procrastination comes up for two reasons. Okay. And you'll know that oftentimes it's procrastination and it's mindset if you keep finding yourself using the same reason for why you can't do something more than 3 times. I just don't have time. I don't have the budget. Ah, my kids just take up too much of my time, right? Anytime you find yourself using an issue or a reason to justify why you can't do something or why you're not doing something, it's often because of a mindset issue. Okay, so that's the first thing is that there's something that is in your mind preventing you from doing this. And I'll give you a really, really powerful example because I know this sounds like common sense. I was working with a client, he was a mortgage broker, and he said, "Elizabeth, do you have any tips for me on productivity and time management just to kind of kick myself in the butt to get motivated?" And I said, "Well, what's going on? What are the issues or the reasons why you keep telling yourself and therefore you keep procrastinating on the task that you know that needs to be done?" Right? And he says, "Well, every time I have to like process a client application and I know I need to do this and I process these applications so many different times, I just sit on it way longer than I want to. And I just cannot figure out why." So it's a mindset issue when the problem is not that you don't know how to do it. Okay. Procrastination is a mindset cause when you're sitting there and you're like, it's not that I don't know how to do it. But for whatever reason, you keep finding another reason or an excuse not to do it. And that's really where it's a good clue that it's something going on with your mindset. Okay. Oftentimes, if you are procrastinating because you don't know how to do it, what you'll often do is you'll go find out how to do it. And after you've learned how to do it, then it's really execution implementation. So, as him and I were coaching, one of the things that he realized as we were doing this work, and this is why this is really key to your best self, is that he realized a moment when he first started his business many years ago. It was his uncle who was one of his first clients, and he was a mortgage broker, and his uncle decided to have him refinance his home and gave him a shot. And this was an uncle that he truly admired, really respected. But unfortunately, his uncle passed away before his mortgage could be approved. And he felt tremendous guilt around this. He felt like he failed his uncle because he was so new as a mortgage broker and they had some hiccups with some of the processing and paperwork. And it was this moment that made him hesitate every time he had to process someone's application. It made him hesitate without him even consciously realizing, because his fear was, what if I fail again? And once we identify this moment, and this is, a true story. He's talked about this publicly. I have a case study on it where he said, "Elizabeth, once we identify this moment and I needed to release it, I am not kidding you. My hands no longer trembled and shook when I picked up an application because he needed to really come to peace with that moment." And so that's how you start to know that your procrastination could be a mindset issue is when you know how to do something, you've done it before, but every time you have to go and do it, there seems to be some resistance to it. And a lot of that was built in the fear that what if I fail? And once we unlocked and identified that moment and released it, he's fine. I mean, I think within like the next 2 months, he was projected to hit 100K as he built out his national team. It's that simple. Okay. So that's how you can start to self-diagnose what is going on with my procrastination. Am I using a reason more than 3 times? We call that an excuse after that. Okay. That's mindset for procrastination. This is wild, but this is also another reason why you can be procrastinating. And this is what we're going to also dive a little bit into today is that How is your schedule with self-care and rest? One of the things that we just rolled out recently new, this is a great book if you're looking for an awesome read, is 12-Week Year. I have it right here. Uh, right? And it's a great book. I rolled it out and I'm also rolling it out to my clients. But the idea is that instead of us thinking that we have 12 months to grow and hit our goals, what if everything that we wanted to accomplish could be done in 12 weeks? So 2024 is literally done in 12 weeks and you're 1 year older, right? What would that look like? And as part of the 12-week, and often one of the things that when I'm coaching my clients that I want you to be very mindful of is that we have to train our mind and our businesses like how athletes train. When athletes are training, they build into their schedule rest days. How many of you have rest days built into your schedule? Traditional society often talks and encourages us to put in more hours to keep pushing ourselves over and over and over and over again, right? More hours, more hours, more hours. But procrastination will show up for you if you have not been taking care of yourself. Because your mind will, you'll keep pushing your mind to keep going, but your body will say, I need a rest. I need to watch Netflix and just binge watch for just a little bit. And this is why it's so key that in your schedule, you have rest days. I call them rejuvenation days. And these are not days, just to be clear for some of the ladies that are here, is that it's not taking a day off work and like cleaning the house. Okay. This is literally where you have rest days built into your schedule, where you are doing something you truly enjoy that rejuvenates you, whether that's a massage, reading a book, being lazy all day. I call it my lazy days. I have lazy days built into my schedule. Why is this so important? Because when the rest is built into your schedule, your body, whether you need more sleep or you need to catch up on just being playful and enjoying life for just a moment, your body and your subconscious is taken care of. And when it's taken care of and you're like, it's work time, let's go, your body and your subconscious is much more likely going to go on the ride with you. Does this make sense? If it makes sense and it's resonating with you, type yes into the chat. So, like an athlete when they're training muscles, right? When you build your strength training and you're building muscles, they're going to teach you don't strength train every single day. That is not the way to build muscles. When you're building muscles, you might do, 1 day of strength training, rest, and then you train again, right? Just like that, we need rest days. How many of you have rest days built into your schedule? I promise you that the more rest days that you have built into your schedule as high performance, this year I'm kind of like on this vibe of peace performance, you will procrastinate less because you are giving your body and your subconscious an avenue to just rest. Okay. And the more that I want you to think about this for the growth in your business, when you're talking about your best self, when you're working on the business and you're working on the big needle movers to grow you and your team, right? And you're doing strategy work, don't you feel best doing that work when you're calm and relaxed? Like you're just in the zone of flow and it feels calm. And that is the state of mind that a lot of people are chasing with work-life balance is this sense of flow. And it's this calm effect that you feel. And that comes from being relaxed. And in order for you to have more of that and to procrastinate less, that's why you need to build into your schedule rest rejuvenation days. Okay. So, as you're thinking about your daily habits and your weekly schedule, and you're thinking about how can I procrastinate less, I really want you to think about what does my schedule look like? Now, I'm going to give you, if you want to write this down, a couple of different ideas to build in rest days depending on where you're at with the stage of your business. I'm going to walk through some bookends in a little bit here, but for example, we're talking about rejuvenation and rest days. And so there's a couple of ways. Right now, where I'm at in my business, the fourth week of every month, I take CEO week off. Right now, what that means is I will only take client meetings, but everything else in my business, I'm not working on. Okay. And I will do things like try out a new activity or be lazy for a day where I, and I call lazy like not having anything planned. Or I love going to the art museum and just going and just hanging out at the art museum for 2, 3 hours. Now, before I do all of these, I might review maybe some goals or objectives or strategy, ideas that I've been brewing. And I might be like, how do I do this? How might I do this? What would that look like? How are we going to triple our sales goals this year? All of those things. And then I'll kind of let that brew, right? And germinate in my brain. And then I'll go off and I'll just do whatever it is that makes me rejuvenate. And I'm learning too that I can't always do like massages or facials because sometimes my mind is still running in the background, even though I'm getting massages. So I started to do things where I don't have to think, like taking dance lessons, where I'm like not thinking about the business, but I'm thinking about that, but I'm not in my head. And so these are different things, different habits that you can build in, as silly as this sounds. Okay, that will help you become your best self and procrastinate less. Because what you're doing is you are letting yourself really just truly be free. You're letting your mind be free. You're leading with your heart. You're leading with your body, and you're trying to move from your head outside of your head to your heart, your body. And if you are in the space, I've been in the space long enough where your body is often the leading indicator of where you're going to be at in hitting your goals. You will be able to push yourself enough at some point and get mediocre goals and results. But if you really are looking for sustainability where you're not going to feel burnt out, where you're not going to feel exhausted, you got to build in the rest days. So type into the chat, what's coming up for you as we're going through this? What is coming up for you? Or you can go ahead and unmute yourself. What is coming up for you? Where do you have an opportunity? Susan says too much to do to take rest days. I get that a lot. How many of you also resonate with that? Yeah. But here's the thing. When you don't have rest days built in, even if it's just 3 hours a week that you are resting and putting that aside, all of your to-do list and all your tasks will stack up. They will have a stacked up effect. I don't rest because I was taught you had to do the chores and work first in order to rest, which is never ending list of things to do. Absolutely, Mary Catherine. Absolutely. So one of the things that I often see, especially when I'm working with women, is that we do feel like rest needs to be earned, right? Like, oh, after I'm doing this, rest is a reward. Rest has to be earned, right? Oh, I'll take vacation after this is done. But here's the thing, we got to build it in because just like how our muscles need rest days in order to recover and recoup and get even stronger, we have to rest. And you're exactly the same way. The sooner and the more often that you can rest and give yourself rejuvenation days, during that moment, you cannot underestimate the power of your mind. you'll be tackling and maybe dealing with issues that you feel like, gosh, how am I going to solve this? And because of rejuvenation rest days, boom, the solution will be there. Not just the solution, but all of a sudden you're going to find the energy behind that solution, the momentum, the fuel to push that idea forward. So, rest days and rejuvenation, folks, I cannot stress this enough, is not just about resting and having your creative juices flow. It is all of a sudden resting, and boom, that wonderful idea comes up, and you now have the momentum, the energy, and the effort to drive it to the finish line. All of that happens when you have rest days and rejuvenation days built in. Okay. Yes, right, Mary Catherine? You had a week off and you came back ready to tackle it all. Exactly. And then the amazing thing is, you get more things done than you ever did before because there's less resistance. What feels hard is all in our head. I often say every year I get older, it does not get easier, folks. I just get better. Okay. So key, so key. All right. I love what I'm hearing, what I'm saying. Okay. So let's talk about what are your bookends? Okay. What are your bookends? Okay. So from the time that you wake up in the morning, how are you treating yourself in the morning? Take a couple minutes here to write down for yourself, what is your daily morning routine? What are some of the things that you wake up in the morning? What are you doing? You're getting ready for work, but I also want you to think about, what is that voice or narrative you're telling yourself in the morning when you wake up? What is your bookend? When you're ready to go to bed, what is your evening routine and evening habit like? What is the narrative and the voice and the story you're telling yourself before bed? What is your bookend? And when you are at work throughout your day and you're looking at that to-do list and you're leading your team, what are some of the daily habits and routines that you're doing? What is that narrative? What is that voice? What are you telling yourself? That's all part of your bookend. And when you need to reimagine the future, when you need to reimagine a new solution, or you need to reimagine how you've been doing things by implementing something new to inspire yourself and your team, what is that bookend for you? So when you think about just what I'm really talking about here, I want you to write this for yourself. How do I conquer the moments? Because in a day, you are literally conquering moments, not even minutes, moments. Okay. So when you think about your best year ever this year, I want you to really think about how you're consistently installing your success formula. This is borrowed from Jack Canfield. Okay. Is that as you think about your bookends from the moment that you wake up in the morning to how you run your days to the evenings when you're about to go into bed, how are you declaring, asking, believing, and committing? How are you doing that? So, why are bookends important? Because it's the only way to literally snap you out of what's not working for you. I often say that the conditions and the environment that you've created for yourself right now is why you're getting the results that you need. In order for you to get different results, you have to disrupt, literally like a slap on the face, your thinking, your being, and your doing in order to change the results that you want from yourself. And that has everything to do with your bookends for those moments, those days. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. And we're talking about habits. Okay. So these are just some of my bookends. I always tell my clients, and I want to encourage this too, is that you got to feed your mind first before you start taking action. If you're a big believer of law of attraction, which I am, a big part of what I coach my clients on is before you take action, right? So when you take action, you're literally releasing the momentum to push something in the universe into action. That attention, that wind, that force, that air that is going to now be released to move and create the momentum into action. What is that intention? What is that energy? Because what you release and move into action in momentum will come back to you. So I'm going to give you a really, really, really key example for this. And I want you to think about what your bookends are. Okay. So, you know, recently I was debating about whether or not I had to take legal action for a past client. And long story short, I knew that I needed to take legal action, but I wanted to make sure that the legal action, that the energy, the intention behind this momentum that I'm going to move into action, in this case, legal action for this past client, was coming from a place that if I got that energy back, it felt good to me. So even though in that moment I felt 100% justified, I felt like, wow, I never want this to happen to anyone else again, right? It's a sense of justice. That energy, as justified as I was, and as justified as I talked to people, people gave me their opinion, the energy still felt very negative to me. It was coming from a very I just need to I'm upset, right? And I just want justice. And it was still low energy. So before I took action to this, I really had to take a moment to say, well, how can I shift this? And a lot of this had to do with my bookends, with how I was thinking about this individual, how I was thinking about what I really wanted from the situation with this legal action. And I had to shift the energy, which is my intention behind taking action. So what I ultimately came down to was having to do the mindset work to release this anger, this almost like sense of injustice, to peace of mind, that what it was really about, whether or not I got justice through the legal system, was about self-respect. That I'm taking action not just because I felt there was a need to to be justified, and a sense of injustice had happened. I never want this to happen to other people. I realized that what ultimately needed to matter more was my self-respect. That no matter what happened, the outcome of this, whether this individual does this to other people, I couldn't save everyone else. But what this really was taking a stand for myself and respecting myself. That even though this was going to cost me money, at the end of the day, it wasn't just about getting justice, but it was about my self respect. And I realized in that in order for me to take action, I needed to shift that energy. And I just thought, wow, this is going to be really hard. It's going to take up a lot of my money and time. But how amazing of a mentor will I be after I survive this to be able to advise other business owners? It makes me a better person, and it makes me a better mentor and a better coach, right? All of a sudden, that energy shift from really this almost negative sense of justice, I just like anger, to sense of peace. Then I took action, right? And it worked out in my favor. It really did. But in order for me to shift that, my bookends had to do with my my morning and my evening routines. So these are just some ways that I also look at what I'm doing. And so A big part of that in the morning is whether you do affirmations. A big part of what I do with my clients is rewiring new beliefs. So we literally identify old beliefs that we want to flip and rewire them. And this is why my clients can get amazing results in 12 weeks or less, because oftentimes they come to me for strategy and results and sales. But I often say, well, if you don't feel worthy of receiving, or there's still some fear around judgment with you commanding or raising your prices, we have to flip those beliefs first so that when you take action, the energy you're releasing isn't the, oh my gosh, what are they going to say? Oh, ugh, what if I fail? What if this? What if we flip that energy to a positive energy, so that a higher frequency, so that when you start to take action, which is the strategy, what you're getting back is a positive momentum of energy that you want back. And that's going to fuel you and keep fueling you to that next level, right? And then, of course, a big part of that many of us know is just movement. So, yes, we want to move out, want to move because it's healthy for us and all of that really good stuff. But what I also prescribe my clients, and I want to prescribe this to you as part of your bookends, is 5 minutes of movement. I don't care what you do. I call this, and forgive my French, your bare ass minimum, okay, for movement, is that I don't care what you do, but at least during the day, you've got to move. Okay. This is truly key to your routine. Yes, you have to move more if you're trying to lose weight and be healthy, but in terms of a mindset, movement is so key to that because it starts to shake up your nervous system. So I might be like to a client, I'm like, what's your bare ass minimum? If it's 15 jumping jacks, get up and do 15 jumping jacks. Why? Because you're rewiring your nervous system and that energy. And that's going to make a huge difference, because what you thought was a problem before you did those 15 jumping jacks, and now you come back, boom, you're going to be able to reframe it and see that same problem from a different angle, because your nervous system, your hormones, and all of that good stuff that gets released, it's going to just reframe that for you, right? It starts to change the lens of that for you, right? So this is really key. So I want you to ask yourself, what are your bookends? How are you starting your day? What are you during the middle of the day? And what are you doing in the evening, right? And so in the evening, do you have a journaling routine? Okay. This is really, really key. This is not something that I know you haven't heard, but the journaling is really, really key. And what I mean by journaling is literally just a bullet of maybe 3 wins that you enjoyed in the day, or 3 things that you accomplished, or just your 3 best moments, right? And one of the things that I often also encourage my clients, want to encourage you on, is like celebrating your awarenesses. What was something that happened today that you didn't know was maybe a part of your blind spot, but you became aware of it? Maybe an aha moment. Maybe it's an aha moment that you don't have a solution for yet, but it's now been brought to your conscious awareness. We don't ever underestimate your awareness, because when there's awareness, that means that your breakthrough is literally right around the corner. And when you are overwhelmed, good thing you're overwhelmed, because that means you're about to learn something new, right? When you are overwhelmed, it's a good thing, because you're about to learn something new. And when you're aware, your breakthrough is literally around the corner. That reframing comes from your daily practice of what's between your bookends, right? If you are a big hypnosis person, I'm actually in the process of getting certified for my hypnosis as well. But there is such a thing as like a hypnosis sort of playing in the background as you sleep, if you believe in that. You enjoy that. So I do a big part of that as well, depending on how I'm feeling and what I'm working on, right? So these are just some key things that I, Elizabeth, do. And I'm sharing this with you because what I'm encouraging you to focus on is that you are the cause and your results is the effect. You are the cause and your results is the effect. So, what's possible for you? So, I want to share this with a client, a past client of mine was her name was 𝐓𝐑𝐀𝐈𝐍𝐆. She was a yoga coach. Okay. And she wanted to change the world with yoga in the community. And before I started working with her, she started to do free classes. She actually wanted to just take donations because she just wanted to make yoga accessible and affordable. How many of us have been there? Right? Raise your hand if you've been there. You want to change people's lives and you want to make sure that it's accessible and affordable, right? But the problem was, and this, I want you to write this down. I'm a big believer in this because I'm in high ticket sales, is that nobody ever values anything that's free. No one ever does. It's not that they don't appreciate it, they just don't prioritize it because it's free. So after working with me, she was able to create I can't remember, it was like a $1,500 program for 3 months. She said, "Elizabeth, this is really expensive. I don't know if anyone's gonna buy." We worked on her limiting beliefs. We worked on gave her the strategy, and boom, she sold her first client. Well, how? Right? Is because she focused not only on just shifting her mindset, but she focused on also solving a premium problem. And this is the power that you have when you have daily habits, a daily routine that really shifts your mindset, including rest days, is that you start to look at the problems that your business or you solve in a different light. So her problem was that, she was trying to help people who were inflexible, stressed, unhealthy. How we shifted her mindset was to start looking at the problem and reframing it differently. Was that really what yoga does and what she was able to do with yoga, because we all know what yoga is that really the premium problem that she was using yoga as a tool to help her clients with was that to help them with sleep, focus, and anxiety, right? And she increased her prices literally 3 times. So even though the results are there, and we worked on the strategy and the packaging to help her increase her prices and create a new program. That's the doing. What needed to shift inside her first was her internal beliefs, her self-worth, that she was worthy of truly delivering a program that could change people's lives, charging 3 times more than what she was asking for with a donation, $1,500 for 3 months with her. All of that comes, I promise you, with your daily routine, because what you're doing, your daily routine with the journaling, affirmations, whatever it is that you're practicing, is you're shifting your internal voice. You're shifting your internal dialogue. Okay. That's what's possible. All right. So, what allows us to work easier is really feeding your mind first, right? This iceberg analogy, if you're new to this or you've seen this, is that literally our subconscious drives about 90% of how we operate. And your conscious, which is your thinking, your logical brain, drives about 10% of you every day. Okay. And this is why your bookends are so key, because that rest that many of us might be hesitant to putting in, that journaling, meditation, movement, all of those things that I know you each all know you should be doing, but maybe you just aren't able to do as consistently as you would like. It all feeds your subconscious mind. It all gets at the 90%. This is why, as what Mary Catherine shared earlier, why she could take a week off and come back, and all of a sudden she's super hyper productive. It makes no logical sense, but it's true. This is why if you go on vacation, like I have a client who's in Florida right now. She's like, "Elizabeth, I'm in Florida for a week, but I'm going to take a day just to do all my business strategy work, everything that I know I should have been doing with you in the last couple of weeks, but I just haven't been able to step away from my business to do." She said, holy smoke. She sent me a message. She's like, I am feeling so productive right now. Why? Because she's on vacation. She's so relaxed. She's so chill. She's in a good spot. And I was joking with her and I said, that's what I call beauty, brains, and beast mode, right? Like you're just enjoying yourself. You're in your body. She's laying at the beach, right? Just literally enjoying yourself. But your mind is relaxed enough that you're working on the business and you're making smarter choices and smarter decisions. Let me be absolutely clear with you. People who are earning $1 million in sales are not working 10 times more hours than someone earning $100,000 in their business. They're not working 10 times more hours. They're just working differently. This is why when you hear about some of the gurus we see in the marketplace, they talk so much about meditation. They talk so much about nutrition and health, right? And all I'm asking you to challenge yourself, right? Going back to what your daily routines are and what your bookings are is, what's your BAM? What's your bare ass minimum that you're willing to do? Maybe in your morning routine, you might ideally want to do all of these things that would take maybe an hour. But what if you just had a BAM where you're just like, if I can just do one affirmation, 3 minutes, am I worthy of that in the morning? To just give that 3 minutes to myself? And if I had 60 minutes, I'll do what everything on this list. But if I can't, can I just do that BAM? Or during the day, I would love to go to the gym for an hour, but if I can't, what is my bare ass minimum? Mine is stretch for 5 minutes. Mine is put on your favorite song and just dance or just listen to it and go for a walk. What is that bare ass minimum for you? Or evening, right? My BAM is literally hypnosis. And you just listen with your headphones and you fall asleep. Can't get easier than that. What is your BAM? What is your BAM? Okay. So type into the chat or unmute yourself. What is coming up for you as you are thinking and hearing all of these different strategies that you could be adapting or using in your business? Okay. Shang says, wow, thanks for that tip, reframing your problem. Love it. Okay. So what I'm going to wrap us up with is I'm going to just share two more slides with you, and then I'll open up for Q&A. And if you have a hard stop, feel free to jump off. But since we're all here, we're talking about your best self. We've talked about procrastination. We've talked about the power of really daily habits. And I hope what I've shared with you is the power of how your mind feeds your action. Okay. Because and I want to say this with so much love, right? The reason why my clients, I do genuinely believe my clients can get such amazing results after 12 weeks of working with me. I have had clients who have never sold anything in their life. And literally 12 weeks later, I had one client who closed her first $3,000 sale and her second client $20,000. It makes no logical sense. Okay. And so when I say goals are what you grow into, and this is one of the things you're going to find about me, is I don't believe in realistic goals because realistic goals come from your current belief. And you might just stretch it a little bit. I love setting unrealistic goals because if it's unrealistic, like this client example that I'm talking about, I said, after she closed her first $3,000, I said, what's unrealistic for you? She said, $30,000 client. I said, then okay. Are you willing to do the mindset and the belief work to grow into that goal? She's like, I don't know, Elizabeth. I just don't think I could do it. And I said, well, let's stack up your habits. What are your bookends? Conquer your moments into minutes, minutes into hours, hours into weeks. Now, she didn't get her $30,000 client, but she got her $20,000 client. And let me just tell you, your logic will tell you, oh, if I close $3,000, my next aim should be maybe 3,500 or maybe 5,000. I said, no, that's too realistic. Let's be unrealistic here. What do you want? Right? So when I go back and I said, You have to be able to declare, ask, and believe and commit. This is exactly what we're talking about. In order for you to achieve your best self, your best year, goals are what you grow into. It's not what you get. Sales is an effect. You're the cause, right? So just a couple of last things that I want to share with you as we wrap up today, okay? And then I'll open up to Q&A. So this is really the moment that you get to pick my brain. So please, please come to the table with questions, okay? So I want to leave you with two thoughts as we're talking about your best self, and we have entrepreneurs here on the phone or online here, Zoom. Okay. If part of your goals this year, either for yourself or your team and your business, is to increase your income or your sales or revenue, I want you to start thinking about these 5 income levers, right? And these are the 5 different strategies I help my clients with, but I'm going to share them with you. The first one is pretty straightforward. Increase. Increase your prices. Where can you increase your prices? Okay. 2, multipliers. People, teams are multipliers. They multiply your team and they multiply they multiply your time and they multiply your income. That means that where do you have an opportunity to grow in your leadership and management this year? Because the better you lead, the better you manage, the better that you fire and hire and spot great talent, you're going to build a winning team. And they are multipliers in your business. They multiply your time and they multiply your sales. Okay. 3, leverage. Can you build leverage in your business? And leverage typically looks like technology, which a lot of my ladies entrepreneurs often don't think about, but automation. I love social media as the #1 source of lead generation for my business because I only have to record it once, like here live, and it's going to live forever on YouTube after the replay goes out or online. Where do you have leverage in your business? Where do you need to step up in order to really build that leverage, that system, that automation in your business? A big part of when I'm working with female clients is visibility or being seen, videos on social, right? Like it's just a really nerve-wracking, mind-blowing, mind-challenging opportunity. #4, invest. Investment in yourself, investment in your business. I often say you are the cause, sales and results is the effect. How are you investing in yourself? When my clients work with me, they're investing in themselves to grow their mindset and their skill set, to raise their self-worth and confidence, and be given proven strategies. When you have that combination handed over to you, the odds that you are going to be able to hit your goals much more quickly is much higher. And then #5, simplify. Where do you have an opportunity to really simplify in your business, in your life? And I want you to encourage you to look at it from a sense of really simplifying your daily routine, making sure that you have those BAM anchors built into your day. All right. And then feel free to take a screenshot of this. But after all of that, as you think about your 90-day, or excuse me, your 2024 goals, I want you to really simplify your focus. I call this a pyramid goal setting to a 6-figure plan or above. But really, you should be able to have the answers to these questions. What is my 90-day sales goals? You gotta declare and ask for it. And don't be realistic. Okay. And then you take a moment to think about different ways that you're going to be using to achieve those sales goals. I don't want you to get into the how. It sounds like how could be, but these are just how am I going to achieve my sales goals? I'm going to use social media as my #1 source, for instance, or I'm going to teach my team on how to use social media to be the #1 source for social media generating. I am going to have rest days or rest hours in my weekly schedule, right? Where I know that if I'm rested and rejuvenated, I'm going to be able to bounce back much more faster and stronger. And then obviously, then what must I do to be able to achieve #1, #2, etc. And then being very clear about the deliverables. I think of deliverables as like, what is that tangible thing that you can touch? You got to be able to see it. You got to be able to spot it. You got to be able to point to it and say, this is what I did, right? So even in your daily routine with your mindset, you're not going to be able to pinpoint that. But what you can pinpoint, for example, is tracking those habits and seeing how consistent you are. And I promise you, the more consistent that you are with your daily mindset routine, the more consistent your external results are going to be. Okay. So that was a lot that we just jam packed into here for an hour. So I am going to just wrap us up by saying this. Remember that people that are earning $1 million are not working 10 times harder than those that are earning $100,000 in sales. They're just working differently. And when you feed your mind and you lead with your heart and you spend more time on that, your to do and action list will work itself out. A big part of the 12-week year plan, and I want to encourage you to check out the book if you haven't, is really thinking about your execution system. And I really think of your daily routines, like your bookends that I've been talking about, and your BAM as part of your execution system. Because what that feeds is it feeds your mind. It feeds you being in what I call your desire zone. The more that you're in your desire zone, you're not pulled into your current reality, which is your comfort zone. All right. And so I want to invite you that if anything that I shared with you here resonates and you want to go ahead and book a call and just see how I can support you and your business and your mindset, just go to talkwithElizabeth.com. That's where you can go ahead and book a schedule with me. But with that, I'm going to open it up to the group and see what questions, what ahas, what things are coming up for you as we wrap up today's training. This is your moment. What's coming up for you? Type it into the chat. What are some key takeaways that you feel like you can implement right away? What are some key things that you think you can implement right away? Jen says, what are your upcoming sessions and how and where can we learn more? So I do monthly training. So if you're on my newsletter, you're on my text messaging thread, that's how you're going to know. I'm often on Facebook as well. So you can definitely follow and connect with me there. But I'm going to be running these monthly as well. Okay. So Shane asked, how long did it take you to get to a point where you didn't have to try so hard to change your mindset? So Shane, there's a saying, every level is a new devil. So what I mean by that is that at every level that you want to pursue, there will be mindset changes and barriers. Okay. And so what I have learned isn't so much that I'm not going to have any limiting beliefs or any mindset challenges. What I've learned is what do I need to do to overcome those limiting beliefs faster? Does that make sense? So for example, when I first started my business, like many people who first start out, your mindset, your limiting beliefs are going to be so powerful that it's going to delay your action. So you're going to be in analysis paralysis mode for a lot longer before you decide to take action publicly. Okay? And as you get better with your mindset, which has everything to do with your daily habits, okay? The bookends we've been talking about, that window gets smaller. So for example, if I know I'm going to set up a new goal this year, I already know I have to first address my mindset. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So I have a client this year. She is looking to grow her team and her business to $500,000 in sales. So our strategy this year for her is building up her thought authority and her brand. So she's, doing the photo shoots. And then she's also going to be hosting what I call a conversion event to put her out there as a thought leader, right? Those are just some key examples of what she's doing. So this is a big year for her, 500,000. She's ready. Again, goals are what you grow into. It's not what you get. So we've set that goal, right? We've declared it. We've asked for it. Now we just have to work on believing, which is your beliefs, and your daily beliefs and your bookends and your BAM, all that stuff. And we got to commit, which is the execution piece, right? So she's declared it. She's asked for 500,000. She's got the team. She's got the motivation, right? She's got me in her corner. So we've set those goals and we're like, you got to grow into this. So when she first started, something like that would have probably taken her years, right? But now where she's at, that window is much shorter, smaller. So because of that, what I've said to her is, now I want your first step. Now that we've set these goals, we've declared it, we've asked, let's work on your belief. What are limiting beliefs coming up for you? What are you afraid of? And she had to really do that work. Why? Because I said to her, it's January. Let's work on those limiting beliefs now. And I start identifying them and overcoming them, rewiring your belief system. Because the faster we do that earlier in the year, the faster you can get to execution. And then it's going to feel more effortless because your mind isn't resisting what you're doing. So for example, one of the things for her is going to be speaking in public. She's nervous about that. She's fine on social, but to be on a stage or be in front of a classroom, she's never done something like that. She owns a beauty salon. So for her, it's like, I've always been in the chair, or I've always been, the expert. I haven't really had to share my thoughts before. Am I even qualified? So, imposter syndrome is coming up for her. So as you set these goals and you realize these are what goals that you have to grow into, you have to identify the mindset, the limiting beliefs. Does this make sense to you? If it does, type yes into the chat so I can see that you're following me, right? So that's why when I'm talking about your best self and I'm talking about understanding what drives procrastination and motivation, it has everything to do with your mindset, right? Yes, reframe and develop successful business plan, 100%. So I'd love to hear from you as we wrap up here. If you enjoyed this, what was the one thing that was your favorite moment that I talked about today? Please share that with me as feedback. And I hope that I will see you in the future events. And the text that you got, I also want you to know that that's also a resource for you. So feel free to text back. That's a real number. We will not spam you. But if you need to book a call with me, or you would love to know if I or my team have a resource for you, go ahead and just text that number and my team and I will get that to you. Okay. So I promise you, we're not going to spam you, but that's a real number. So if you can just leave me in the chat, the one favorite moment that you really enjoyed today is feedback for me. So I know, that would be wonderful. Okay. So what was the one thing that you really enjoyed about learning today? And with that, I will see you next month. You're on the newsletter and our text community thread, so more to come, okay? And you'll also be getting a text message about the experience today, and I will be asking you about future topics as well that you would love for me to cover. So please share your feedback with me. As you can see, I am a very interactive two-way conversation person, and I really, really just love teaching and coaching. So thank you everybody for coming today, and happy 2024. And here is to celebrating you.